everyone, it's Miss Alfaro here, and today I will be showing you how to create a Notan using white paper, scissors, glue, pencil, as well as colors. As you see on the screen, this is an example of a Notan that has 3 different designs on here using color swatches that I showed you all on Zoom. So if you don't have colored paper, that's okay, don't fret. I'm going to show you how to use it with white paper. First, let's take a look at some more examples of Notan, which will help you get inspired to create your artwork. Notan is the balance between light and dark, as well as it is a technique that is taken from the Japanese culture. We see here on the left side, here's a simple Notan design. And on the right side, we have one that has more details and it's more visually interesting, using markers, colors, and crayons. With Notan, artists arrange shapes to show a sense of balance between light and dark using simple designs. Designs can also be more difficult, like the Alice in Wonderland Notan we see above. Notan art uses positive and negative space, shapes, lines, composition, and balance. These are all terms that we have either learned in art or we are continuing to learn. The video you're watching today is going to show you how to use it or create a Notan with white paper. However, I have posted 2 different videos that you can also follow along with. The first one says easy instructions for Notan. This used 2 sheets of colored or white paper, pencil, scissors, and glue. We also have a second video, which is for more advanced, and it has more steps. It's using the same materials, but this, again, will have more steps compared to the easy instructions. Next, let's take a look at which materials you will need and what they look like. Posted on the screen, I have written down the materials for you. So you will need scissors, a glue bottle or a glue stick. If you don't have either of these, you can always use clear tape also. A pencil, paper. This could be regular paper like computer paper, colored paper, or even notebook paper. Finally, colors. Something to color with. That can be crayons, markers, colored pencils, pens, whatever you have to create color. Okay, so I'm going to start by getting a clear area, a space that I can actually design on, ready for myself. And I'm going to take those 2 sheets of paper. Again, this could be colored paper, notebook paper, printer paper, whatever you have available. The first thing I'm going to need to do is I'm going to put one of the papers to the side. I won't need it just yet. And now I am going to make this paper into thirds. That means I'm going to have 3 separate sections. So what you could do, if you have a ruler at home, you could measure thirds, or what I did, I didn't measure mine. I just eyeballed it, meaning I looked at it and I said, okay, if I were to draw a line here and a line here, that would be thirds. So I have 1, 2 lines. So I want you to imagine, like, if this was a candy bar and you were going to share it with 2 other people, you would want to break it equally into 3 separate parts. So, let me take my paper. For the video, I am going to use a crayon just so that way you can see my lines, but I would suggest you use a pencil. And 2. Now that I have it in thirds with my pencil, I'm going to fold just one of them up. just one of them. So what I did right now is I took my rectangle and I created a square. So if I turn it over, you'll see that I now have a square. Next, I will take my scissors and I will start to cut off this thin rectangle off of my big square. Now, I should be left with a huge square that I can use. So next, what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to make 4 squares out of this big, huge square on my page. So watch what I do. I take my paper and I fold it from top to bottom. From top to bottom. We call this in art horizontal. So I'm folding my paper horizontally from top to bottom. After I have folded it one way, I can turn it the opposite way and fold it a second time. So it should look like a smaller square now. I can now open my box, and if I'd like, I can use my pencil to help draw down the lines, so that way it tells me now that I have 4 different squares on the page. Next, we're going to need to make one of these squares dark. So some colors that you can use are going to be like black, dark purple or regular purple, blue, green, brown, dark red, dark orange, gray, any of those colors. Because if you remember in Notan, Notan is the difference between light and dark, but it also uses the element of art of space. So for this one, I used a black crayon. So taking my black crayon, or whatever color I choose, I'm going to start coloring in the whole box, just one of the boxes, because I could use the other boxes for a different Notan. So I'm going to finish coloring my whole page. I would hope you do the same. I'm sorry, not my whole page. Sorry about that, artist. Just one of the boxes. Remember, I'm just coloring just one of the boxes. Once I am done coloring one of my boxes, now I could use my scissors and start cutting out this box out of my page. So if you notice, I already cut mine out. So you should be left with one huge, or I'm sorry, not huge, one smaller square. And you can use these other ones for maybe different colors. The next thing I'm going to do, before I draw my designs in my Notan, is I'm going to take my sheet of paper from earlier, my extra one. And now using my pencil, I am going to trace the box around it. So I want to arrange my square, my small square, in the middle of the page. And I'm going to start to trace my box. The reason I'm doing this is so that later on, I know where to glue my box. So if you notice right here, when I zoom in, you can see my pencil marks with my box. Now don't worry if it's not perfect, because that's why you can come back with an eraser and fix it. Next, on the back of my square that I cut out earlier, I'm going to need to start to draw some lines and shapes. These can be simple, like half of this box right here. This would be a geometric shape, or organic shapes like wavy lines. I can also add maybe some other shapes like zigzags, right? Some triangles, whatever I feel like I want to do for my artwork. So for example, let me grab one of my other papers to show you, and I will draw a couple. So again, you want to keep these lines big and simple. You do not want to get too detailed, especially on your first Notan. Because remember, this is your practice. And the better and better you get, the more detailed you can make the Notans. So as you see here, I have 4 different ones. And I'm also making sure to draw on the edge. That means I'm starting my lines and I'm ending them on the edge of my square. It's important that you do not draw shapes or try to cut out shapes in the middle. Okay, so just the sides. Okay. When I am ready, I will take my scissors and I will start to cut out my Notan design. Whatever I cut out of this box, I want to hold on to, no matter how small the piece, because I want you to think of this like a puzzle piece. If you lose something out of your puzzle, you won't be able to solve it correctly. So I am going to continue cutting, and I ask that you do the same. Okay, I've finished cutting all my pieces, so I'm going to move these to the side for just a moment. And now I have my bigger paper that I traced my square on from earlier. So now this is going to be where you will use your glue. You are going to glue inside of your square, and using the piece, the biggest piece that you have, it's probably going to be the one that you cut out all the other shapes from. So for example, right here, I cut this shape out of this one. This is going to be my negative space, right? So this is my darker area. This will be my negative space. So I can take it, now that I have glue down on the page, and glue it to the paper. Next, once I've glued down this shape, I can now take my other pieces, like for example, I have this piece that I cut out, but I'm not going to glue it in here, right? Because then it would just look like a regular square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate it, that means turn it, so that way it is coming out of my box. And it's now creating my positive space inside. So I can continue gluing my other pieces. So here's one. I'll move it, turn it. This piece goes here, so I'll need to again rotate it, put it at the edge, and glue. Next piece, I find the correct one. Yep, this piece goes here, so I rotate it on the edge, and now I glue it. Last one. I want to double check, make sure, yep, that one goes there. So I can flip it and glue it. When this is dry, you can come back to the areas where you see your pencil mark, for instance over here on the edge, and use your eraser to erase those lines. To finish this project, you want to try this a second time and then start adding some designs. But we will talk about that more on during class. All right, artists. Again, here's an example of your finished Notan. I can't wait to see what you created. Thank you for joining. I look forward to seeing you on Zoom and in person. Bye, everyone.